Hello everyone. Today is February 23, 2026. Here are the most important developments from yesterday. As a new week begins, let's look at 5 major economic events to watch in the days ahead. 1. U.S. Producer Price Index, Friday. On Friday, the United States will release January's Producer Price Index, or PPI. This index measures wholesale inflation. Economists at HSBC expect the annual increase to slow slightly, from 3% in December to about 2.8% in January. If that forecast is correct, it would reinforce Wall Street's current view: inflation remains relatively high, and interest rate cuts are not imminent. Financial markets are already pricing in only 2 rate cuts in 2026. Each cut would be about 25 basis points. In other words, current economic conditions suggest the Federal Reserve may have limited room to ease policy this year. Data from the London Stock Exchange Group shows that traders expect the first rate cut around July. Friday's report could strengthen that expectation. 2. U.S. Leading Consumer Index, Tuesday. On Tuesday, the Conference Board will release February's Leading Consumer Index. This indicator helps predict future trends in consumer spending. The U.S. Treasury Secretary recently projected that economic growth in 2026 could reach 3.5%. For comparison, in 2024, GDP growth was 2.8%. In 2025, growth slowed to about 2.2%. If growth accelerates as predicted, the economy and labor market may not need interest rate cuts for support. As a result, neither the PPI nor the Consumer Index is expected to significantly change Wall Street's outlook on U.S. economic policy. 3. European Consumer Confidence Data. Several European economies will release consumer confidence indicators this week. Germany and France report on Wednesday. The Eurozone releases data on Thursday. Italy follows on Friday. Like the United States, Europe relies heavily on consumer spending. These surveys provide important clues about economic momentum. 4. GDP reports from Germany and France. Europe's 2 largest economies will also publish GDP data. Germany releases its figures on Wednesday. France reports on Friday. Together, these reports will help clarify the overall picture of global economic performance for 2025. 5. China's stock market reopens, Tuesday. China's stock market will reopen on Tuesday after the Lunar New Year holiday. This year's holiday was unusually long. The market has recently shown strong and stable performance. Investors are eager for trading to resume. A strong start to the year is culturally significant for many Chinese investors. As a result, Tuesday's market reaction will attract attention, although its broader impact may be limited. Additional factors to watch. Beyond these economic events, investors worldwide are also monitoring geopolitical developments. One key issue is U.S.-Iran relations, especially the risk of military escalation. Another is the reaction from trade partners after a U.S. Supreme Court decision overturning certain tariffs. That ruling could have continuing economic effects. Second major news topic. According to Reuters, remarks by the U.S. ambassador to Israel regarding land issues in the Middle East have drawn condemnation from several countries. The ambassador suggested that Israel has historical or religious ties to much of the region. Multiple governments criticized the comments as dangerous and provocative. The ambassador, an evangelical Christian and longtime supporter of Israel, has previously defended Israeli control over disputed territories. During an interview with a conservative media host, he was asked about Israel's right to exist and the historical roots of the Jewish people in the region. The host cited biblical passages describing land promised to Abraham, extending from the Euphrates River to the Nile. The ambassador responded that current discussions focus on the territory where Israel presently resides and seeks peaceful development, not expansion into neighboring countries. In response, several nations issued a joint statement condemning the remarks. These included Jordan, the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Turkey, Indonesia, and Pakistan. During the same interview, the host also accused Israel's current president, Herzog, of having visited Jeffrey Epstein's private island. This claim was inserted deliberately into the interview. However, it had no factual basis. The president had never visited the island. After the video was released, the host issued a brief apology, saying he had made a mistake. Some observers described this as a common political tactic: make a dramatic accusation, generate public reaction, and later issue a correction after the impact has already spread. 6. Deeper divisions within U.S. conservatism. To understand the controversy, it is important to examine divisions within the American conservative movement. From an isolationist perspective, some commentators question why strong pro-Israel positions receive support among conservative voters. Critics sometimes argue that certain individuals may feel loyalty to both the United States and Israel. Those aligned with the isolationist view argue that loyalty should be solely to the United States, and that supporting another country should not imply dual allegiance. This debate represents a major fault line within conservative foreign policy discussions. Although some observers outside the U.S. view these figures as outsiders, their influence domestically remains significant. 7. Trump's position. Both Huckabee and Carlson are supporters of Donald Trump. However, Trump has taken a balancing approach toward their disagreement. Trump has largely allowed Huckabee to express pro-Israel views. At the same time, White House officials have clarified that those views do not necessarily represent official policy. Trump also maintains some distance despite personal ties. Huckabee is the father of Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Trump's former press secretary and current governor of Arkansas, and he himself previously served as governor. Toward Carlson, Trump has shown notable tolerance. Carlson has publicly criticized several Trump policies, yet Trump has not responded as harshly as he often does with other critics. One explanation is that Carlson represents the America First isolationist wing of Trump's support base. Alienating that group could carry political costs. Even Trump's son, known for strongly defending his father, has avoided attacking Carlson. 8. Comparison with Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. Observers note that Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, whose views often align with Carlson's, has not received the same level of tolerance. Both are prominent figures within the America First faction. However, Greene is seen as a loyal political supporter, while Carlson operates as an independent media figure with broad influence. As a result, criticism from Carlson is treated differently than criticism from Greene. Even when Carlson raised allegations regarding Trump's Middle East trip, Trump and his family avoided direct confrontation. 9. A sensitive issue in U.S. politics. Carlson has long been one of the most prominent conservative voices critical of Israel. He has even claimed that Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu threatened his family's safety on 2 occasions. Some commentators argue that certain public figures can make such criticisms without major repercussions, while others may face stronger backlash for similar statements. Analysts sometimes describe this as a form of political privilege within specific factions of American politics. Taken together, these issues help explain the debates taking place over the weekend and the deeper divisions within the conservative movement. Third major news topic: developments in tariff policy. Finally, here are the latest developments regarding tariff policy. Bloomberg report: trade agreements remain valid. According to Bloomberg, U.S. official Greer stated that despite recent legal rulings, trade agreements between the United States and other countries remain in effect. In an interview with CBS, he said agreements with China, the European Union, South Korea, and others are still valid. He emphasized that these agreements should be viewed separately from the newly proposed 15% global tariff. The United States intends to honor its commitments and expects its trading partners to do the same. In short, ongoing legal disputes should not be interpreted as weakening existing trade deals, nor should countries assume that new tariff proposals will replace negotiated agreements. Previously agreed tariff levels are expected to remain unchanged. This is the clearest explanation so far from the Trump administration regarding its position toward global trade partners. This has been Anti-Noise Intelligence, tracking the world so you stay ahead of it. Thank you for listening, and make sure to tune in again tomorrow.